After I fully processed what took place in Parkland, Florida, I immediately said to myself, thank goodness that my children are safe. Both of my kids are in college now, but as a parent, it's just a natural feeling of, please keep my children safe, and I hope that this does not happen on their campus. And as I took the conversation outside of my home and into my workplace here at HelloSWFL and with my other family members, I wanted to know, well, what can we tell our children, whether they're in preschool, middle school, or high school, or in my case, college? How can we tell them what they need to do in order to be safe, or how to have that conversation of what took place? I turned to a couple of parenting groups on Facebook just to find out what the conversation was going on there. How are they talking to their children? What are they saying to them about what happened? With preschoolers and kindergartners, you got to keep the conversation simple. You know, their minds are just a little bit of everywhere because they have such a vast imagination. Now, if you have kids who are in elementary school from 1st grade to 5th grade, the first instinct is just to turn off the television because you don't want them to see or hear what's going on. But you have to remember that these kids are going to have conversations amongst themselves on the playground or at PE or at the lunchroom. So you want to be engaged and be proactive and say, hey, did you hear what happened? Did you see what happened? Do you have any questions? And just be ready to have that conversation. And with elementary school kids, I'm a true believer of, keeping those conversations short and sweet, just like how you would with your kindergartners. For the middle schoolers and high schoolers, I think the best way to talk to them is to really gather your thoughts, because clearly that conversation is going to be a lot longer than your preschoolers and your elementary school kids. You want to process your thoughts after, you're not so emotional about what took place, and you want to sit them down probably at dinner or have them help you cook dinner or something like that, and say, hey, have you seen what happened? Do you have any questions? Let's really discuss that. What's going on in your school? This is just my perspective. So to help me give this topic more depth, I asked some of my colleagues here at Southwest Florida to share how they steer the conversation with their children when mass shootings become the trending story right here in Southwest Florida. So it's the next day after Parkland. What were some of the first things that came to mind and how you guys were going to discuss what took place down in South Florida with your children? Dulce, I'd love to start with you.
Well, I have a 2-year-old, so he can't really fully understand, and I can't really explain that to him. But right now with this happening, I have to prepare myself. And as soon as he can understand and starts going to preschool, get the talk and sit him down, because it's a scary situation, and we can do our best to try to teach him and what he can do in that, but it's super scary, and it makes you not even want to enroll him in school and just keep him homeschooled.
Mm-hmm. Corey, what about you? You have children. How old are your kids?
Yeah, I have a 9 and a 2-year-old. And yeah, I mean, every part of me wants to tell them to survive, but at the same time, a kid is a kid, and when authorities are around, I feel like they're gonna try to listen to them. So I don't know, interjecting other things for the kid to do could possibly confuse them in the situation. And I mean, with my biggest thing is I just feel like the innocence of a kid is being ripped from them, and it kind of hurts me a little bit.
What about you, Gigi? You told us earlier that last night when you guys were about to sit down for dinner, or it was after dinner, you said to your son, hey, I have to show you something. Did he know what you were going to show him? Did he have any idea?
No, he hadn't heard anything. He was in school all day, and so after dinner, we were watching TV and kind of talking about it, and I called him over and I said, come, we're going to go talk about this. And he was what's going on? And I said, this thing happened today, and I feel like you need to know about this because this is what happens, unfortunately. And I was kind of gauging how he was, feeling about it, exactly.
And how do you gauge that? Do you look into his eyes, watch his body
I asked
language?
him, I said, how do you feel? And he kind of was perplexed about all this. He had a confused look. Like, what do you say to something like that? Touching on Corey's thing, it's innocence. Like, they shouldn't have to worry about things like that.
You're absolutely right. Corey, you made an interesting point while we were setting up, and you were talking about the time that you took your daughter, I think she's 9, to the movies, and it brought you back to the Colorado shootings.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the day-to-day process, just going to do something in public. It's kind of, I think I said disgusting, because it disgusts me to have to sit down to watch a movie with your kid and think, and I don't mean to laugh, but it just, what do you do at this point? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I really have to put that thought into my brain when I'm watching a movie with my child. It's disgusting, dude, Yeah.
Dulce, you said that you have family members down in that area, close by where the school is, and you were on the phone. Talk to our audience about what the conversation was like, and then what were the steps that you told your family member what they need to take from here on out.
I was super scared when I first heard the news, because they said it was near Coral Springs, and my cousin goes to school there. So I called him and I was like, was that at your school? Are you safe? And he was like, no, thankfully it was a school down the street, but I have friends there, and it was super scary because they were texting and sending each other snaps that while this was going on. And so we had to have the conversation with him that these we live in a scary world now. It's sad to see that we have to tell these kids, you got to be on alert at all time. Not just it's now at school, but they have to be on alert and try not to panic, and just do their best to try to survive a situation like that.
Right.
So
I have family members down in Broward County as well. My sister has a daughter, my niece, and she goes to school not too far from that area. And I immediately called and was like, how's everybody doing? Is Leanne okay? And my sister didn't want to talk about it, because what she shared with me is that last year a similar situation happened, but authorities got the student, and she was like, Tamika, it was yesterday's incident at Parkland. It just brought back so many memories. And she explained to me that she knew exactly how those parents were feeling. And then I was like, so how did you prepare Leanne? And she was like, when we were living in London, we didn't have to worry about guns. What we had to worry about were bombs. So there were a lot of bomb warnings, bomb threats. And so Leanne, she had that instinct to, of I guess, danger. When danger kicks in, she automatically knows where to go, So it begs the question, in America, it's like, okay, we know we have a gun issue, but we're not going to tap on that. But now the issue is we have to teach our children how to survive. As I mentioned before, I have college kids, and I worry about them every single day, and it's like, was there any warnings or anything like that, or are they giving you any tips? And my daughter, she said to me, she's like, well, Mom, I always have that survival instinct on. And I feel like for our kids, it's just one extra thing to worry about, Corey, what do you think? What are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking off topic a little bit about I don't know. My mind kind of went to where we live in a place that's supposed to be the best and the greatest. We're supposed to be safe and this whole American dream, right? But we're now talking about things that people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis in war-ridden zones. And that's kind of heavy to I don't know. Quite honestly, I kind of got lost in thought on that.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Because deep in thought, and these are sometimes these are conversations that are not being addressed on the outside. So that's why I really wanted us to sit down and to really have this conversation with our audience and let them know, hey, there's also some other conversations to be had. Gigi, did you have anything else you wanted to add about how you talk to your younger ones? Because you have kids from different age ranges, twins, 2-year-old, 3-year-olds, teenager.
For the girls, they are still very young. I think when they do get to an appropriate age, I'll be just like with my teenager, just as open. I think it's important as parents, we do our part and not just leave it up to the schools to have these conversations with them. I think it's important that us as parents educate our children on what's going on and be very open and honest with them, because they're able to retain that. And I think if we do our duty as parents in that aspect, I think they'll be better off.
So I just want to wrap it up for our audience. And before we do, I wanted to know from each one of you, what can you tell our HelloSWFL audience about how to talk to their children, no matter what grade they're in? How do you have that conversation? If you can share, whether it's with your 2-year-old, he's probably too young, or with your cousins, what's the conversation that definitely helps you have a peace of mind when it comes to mass shootings like this?
For me, it's like, I think this generation takes some of these jokes like not as seriously. Like, so just they have to be aware, not just like when this is happening, but like to try to like maybe avoid this happening by like, you may think a joke like, oh, go kill yourself or something like that is just playing around, but it's not. Like the way they're joking, kids definitely also need to stop on that end, because you could totally like misread something and it could lead to another.
Right, so that would actually lead to, I feel like that would lead to more parent engagement, right?
Yes,
it's like,
definitely. I think they need to, with parents, we have to speak to our kids, be very open, and not just be, how your day is going has to extend a little bit more than that, and really get to know like their friends, and so I don't know, it's really emotional, because like even like my younger sisters are in high school, and like I feel like they need to like not only survival instincts, but just be very aware of all the kids at their school, because we shouldn't let these things just go by like that.
That's true. Corey?
I think we all agree, like being open and honest. It hurts to have the innocence ripped, but at the same time, like that's 90% of the issue with, I feel like with a lot of things in the world, they're all sugar coated. Nobody talks about anything for real, and that's why there's a generation gap. And I'm not going to say the age bracket that I feel, but they respond to things a lot differently. They're taught to not lose. They're taught to like not this. Well, all this stuff actually exists in life.
Do you feel like there's a disconnect?
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's a massive disconnect in humans and the way we interact, even minus kids.
Right. And what are you, knowing what I know about you now, what do you plan on doing to help your children stay connected?
I teach them how to communicate,
Good.
talk. Like I'm a dad, so I'm like, hey, what's up, sweetheart? You'd still have those lovey moments with your kid, but I also sit down with my 2-year-old and my 9-year-old, and I talk to them like they're human, and I'm honest with them about life, with what's going down. So you have to talk to them like a little mini human and keep them informed,
And Gigi, your last step on the list. What do you think? What can you give our audience? What can you share with our audience on how to prepare them, how to talk to their children about what took place?
Keep the conversation going. Us as parents, as a society, every time something bad happens, it's out there for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, and then it disappears and we all forget. We need to really keep the conversation going constantly.